Hello, welcome. It's Kristen from Life of Crafting, and I'm still working my way through this sheetload of cards. I wanted to do a challenge where I use, my original plan was I was going to do these every year and make my way through a paper pack, but my issue every month when I look at them is I have more and more like self-imposed limitations. The original one I started with was in April of 2022. I started with a pattern called Floral Boutique from Stampin Up. And it's a beautiful paper pack. I've had it for several years. I loved it. I've been holding on to it. I'm trying to get through my stash and use stuff up. But the problem with that one is there's only two colors in it. It's white and they're Night of Navy, which as you can imagine is a navy color. Beautiful prints, but it can get to be very monochromatic because of those two. Obviously, it was made to be that way. But the patterns that were, like I said, I started working backwards because I've been getting through these pretty quickly. It's been nice. I won't complain about that. But the one for March called for 3 different papers in the sketch. And I thought it was too monochromatic, so I brought out the paper pack of Domestic Goddess for the March one. Well, when I got to February's, which is where I am now, this sketch calls for 3 strips down the front. Again, 3 different patterns. This is a great sketch if you want to use up your scraps. These strips in the front are only 1 inch wide by 4.5 inches long. I can't bring myself, I'm sorry, I just can't do it I love that Domestic Goddess paperwork. So I can't bring myself to taking 3 of those 12 by 12 sheets and just cutting them in strips. Unfortunately, I've only done 1 sketch with it so far. So for me, I don't have a lot of these scraps of any sort built up yet. So have no fear, I have another solution. I have this pack of Candy Cane Lane that was a Stampin' Up from probably about 4 to maybe 5 years ago. And I made some apron treat bags, and I have that video further back. If I can figure out how to link it at the bottom, I will. But what it did was it left me with a lot of these strips of paper that are only 5 inches long. So just pulling them out, you can see, I mean, I have some other scraps, but there's not as many left after I pull out just those. See, this is what they were kind of like weird with this cutout from the treat bag die that I did. So love this paper pack. And like I said, they have to be 4.5 inches long. Now some of them, yeah, I do need to pay attention because I have to make sure they're going up and down, but I don't have a problem cutting these up into 1 inch strips because honestly, I don't know what else I would do with these. I've been wanting to use them in some capacity, so this is what I'm going to do. So I want to use this paper pack up. Her recipe supply list, if you want to call it, was for 3 6x6 pattern paper, 3 cardstocks in a solid color, and then I guess the 3 would be the card bases. You were coming up with 6 papers out of the 3 6x6 paper packs this way. So you're supposed to be cutting, like I said, the 6x6 sheet in 1 inch strips by 4.5 inches long. If it doesn't have a specific direction in it, you could get a 7th one out of it. Some of these I will be able to do that with because, well, honestly, this is only 5 inches long, so I'm only going to have a 1/2 inch strip left. So maybe I'll put that on the inside of the card and decorate the inside of the card because I don't know what else I'm going to do with a 1/2 inch strip. So then you're supposed to get yourself the sentiment sheet for the front and yourself some kind of a focal point. So you're going to have that. There's a layer behind the strips and then the sentiment. This paper suite, if you weren't familiar with it back in the day, was a very popular one from Stampin' Up. part of the suite had this punch that was in it, and if you're part of the ginger community with Jill that follows Jill Norwood, you would be very, very familiar with this. So I automatically know I'm using the gingerbread as my focal point in here. Simple enough. I may bring in a couple peppermint candies that I have to add on there instead of like a sequin or something. And that'll be quick and easy. Like I said, cutting my strips. I think I'm going to go with, I'm going to take a look if I had a bunch of card packs I bought from the Paper Studio, 50% off, see how the Hobby Lobby does. And I had bought some way back when, that were the card and envelope kits. And again, I'm trying to use up my stash. So I'm going to see if I can do that first and then just do a red layer behind the 3 strips. Simple, easy. I'm going to start prepping some stuff and then I'll be back. So I'm laid out my card, as you can see here, and I am going to be getting 115 of these cards. So I figured I better finish this up now because this is going to take me a while. So the plan is I'm going to cut all of my red card bases. I have already laid out all of my strips to make the best use because again, these are all similar with like a splotch, so I can't have two, I don't want anyway, two on the same card. I had to separate my stripes, and then I had my candy cane burst things that I kind of had to separate. So it took a little bit of laying out and thinking, and then this was basically overage that I had to fool around with to get another, I'm going to get another 11 there. And then, if you can imagine, let me get this out of the way. This pile is what I'm going to have still left over. This pile is what I'm going to have that strips for the inside of the card. Yeah, so that's my white strips that I'm going to be using up. So the plan is, first thing is I'm going to cut all of my red so that I can get these glued on before I lose what combinations I want. So I'm going to get them all matted up like this. Then I want to cut all the brown because I'm going to be getting my cookies out of the center before I put the red mat on top of it. So I changed from the other punch because I wasn't going to sit and punch 115 of those things. I'm sorry. And these are the Tim Holtz. To go through what I'm doing, I'm using this is the Stampin' Up Frosty Gingerbread sentiment, and I'm using the Tim Holtz Christmas cookies, I think this is called, dies, because this way I can get 2, 4, 6, there's 7 different styles. I can get these much quicker because I'm going to be able to put 2 of these on my longer die cutting plate. So I'll be able to do 4 of these at a time, so this will go much faster. I'm getting the paper, and then before I put the white on, I'm going to use a sponge dauber to give me a little bit of definition around the edges because it was really starting to blend in to the backgrounds. And these were the peppermints I had. My friend had ordered them for a card and then gave them to me. She's funny. I love Vicky. She gets to the point where she like gets tired of like a project after she makes it and just like gives me everything. So I may actually, I don't even know how much of this paper I had because of ones I bought, ones she gave me, ones I got from discontinued piles that my reps were selling and everything. So this was another one. I had a bunch of this paper. So this is what I came up with for the February 2022 Sheetload of Cards. It's following the diagram. What I was thinking was you do need a full sheet of a color. That is to give you the matte. I added the brown in. That is not a layer that was part of the instructions. The sheets were for you to just get, basically you're going to need a sheet and a half of cardstock to give you this back layer if you were going to follow her instructions. Your card base would be, your white in my example. and it would have just gone right to the bread. I added what is the crumb cake cardstock from Stampin' Up because, like I said before, I'm just into layers. Matter of fact, this white not having a layer behind it is kind of bothering me too. But again, I'm having 115, so I just need to keep it really short. And then you're supposed to have one thing here with the sentiment. I did make my sentiment strip much wider. She only called for, like I said, I don't have this on my tripod, so I'm shaking a little bit. Sorry. You're supposed to be only 3/4 of an inch. I didn't have any sentiments that were going to be that small, truthfully, that were still going to fit this theme. This was a smaller one than what I had originally picked, so I just went wider, and I don't think it really distracts from it at all. And you know what, I'm looking that once I added the sentiment, I could actually have pieced this in if I needed to, and there is more in that pile that just weren't long enough that I, for different reasons, just didn't have. But I think 115 for this is going to be more than enough. So this was the pattern. You're supposed to get 6 from a 6-inch strip of paper. So she has you picking 3 so that you can have the combinations. You would take 2 of these cardstocks to get you that. She's got you with another color of cardstock, which in this example would be the white, so you can get your sentiment stripped and your icon piece for the front. So truthfully, if I was doing the 6, I probably would have been done by now. It would have taken me probably about an hour to 2 hours to get this, and that would have been a really nice night project. But having to want to use up all of my stash and getting rid of it, I'm going to be on an endeavor for quite some time. So I hope you get something great out of this. I'm going to be using this as a Saturday morning make for Joe Norwood's hashtag. It's an open collaboration for anybody to show us what you're making in your day or your week. That would be phenomenal. Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm going to do this for the Smash My Stash because I am using up, that whole bag was full, as you saw in the beginning, and I'm going to get a lot out of that, what I would say is scraps from another project. I'm hoping you're finding some inspiration. I do have a lot of other videos where I am showing how I'm maximizing paper and getting out quite a few cards from each, so I hope you're finding some inspiration. If you do, I would really appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe down below. May you have a wonderful night. See ya.